seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Love Talk Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, ClayDouglas. Already got stupid people in the chat room. Gee, how do you feel about homosexuality? And my answer to that is, what you do in your bedroom is your business. Just keep your crap out of our schools and away from our children. But it's the children who are gay, and the children go to school. I think it sucks. And, yeah, well, let's, tell you how I feel about that. Let me illustrate that. How about that? How about if I just kick that bitch Lady Gaga out of my room? How about that? Alright. And, let's see, what else we got here? We got the, chat rooms open. Jim's in there, unreal fart. I guess I lost a Dr. D charge. He doesn't even answer my calls anymore. Too bad. Tough shit. Don't really care. One way or the other. Now, you know, I had somebody come on my show and talk about the tea parties. Well, if the tea parties are represented by Sarah Palin, and Sarah Palin thinks that we ought to go to war with Iran. Let's see, we got 2 wars now. Another, a third world war with Iran. Well, that'd probably bring in China. That'd give us the global war. So, Sarah Palin working for the American people, or she working for the internationalists, the banksters? Let's see. Let me see. Susan Lindauer is a whistleblower who was indicted under the Patriot Act. She's the author of Extreme Prejudice, a terrifying story of a Patriot Act and the cover-ups of 9/11 and Iraq. She's got a comment on the tea parties. She says, I confess that since November, I've been holding my breath, watching the clock for how long the Tea Party newcomers could hold out against the entrenched Republican elite on Capitol Hill. Collapse was inevitable, however, I admit to feeling bitterly surprised at how rapidly they have thrown in the towel. For the record, most of the Tea Party quit their principles of liberty on February 14, 2011, 20 days into the new Congress, when Tea Party leaders abruptly abandoned their opposition to the Patriot Act and voted to extend intrusive domestic surveillance, wiretapping, and warrantless searches of American citizens. In doing so, they exposed the fraud of their soaring campaign promises to defend the liberty of ordinary Americans and fight government intrusions on freedom. All of these wide-eyed speeches that flowed with such thrilling devotions, all of it proved to be self-aggrandizing lies. The Tea Party didn't even put up a fight. Briefly, they rejected a sneak attack to renew 3 surveillance clauses of the Patriot Act on a suspension vote. That filled my heart with hope. One push from the Republican elite, however, and they went down with a loud thud. My disappointment is particularly acute. Rather notoriously, I am distinguished as the second non-Arab American to face indictment on the Patriot Act after Jose Padilla. My status was pretty close to an enemy non-combatant. One could presume that I must have joined some terrorist conspiracy or engaged in some brutal act of sedition, such as stockpiling weapons and munitions to overthrow those crooks in Congress. Well, you would be wrong. I got indicted for protesting the war in Iraq. Remember George Bush? I had him on the cover of the Free American magazine. You're either with us or against us. You're either with the United States and Israel or you're against us. She says her crime was delivering a warm-hearted letter to my second cousin, White House Chief of Staff Andy Card, which correctly outlined the consequences of war. Suspiciously, I had been one of the very few assets covering the Iraqi embassy at the United Nations for 7 years. Thus, I was personally acquainted with the truth about pre-war intelligence, which differs remarkably from the story invented by GOP leaders on Capitol Hill. More dangerously still, my team gave advance warnings about the 9/11 attack and solicited Iraq's cooperation after 9/11 in August 2001 at the urging of my CIA handler. I phoned Attorney General John Ashcroft's private staff and the Office of Counterterrorism to ask for an emergency broadcast alert across all federal agencies seeking any fragment of intelligence on airplane hijackings. My warning cited the World Trade Center as the identified target. Highly credible independent sources have confirmed that in August 2001, I described the strike on the World Trade Center as imminent, with the potential for mass casualties, possibly using a miniature thermonuclear device. Thanks to the Patriot Act, Americans have zero knowledge of these truths. Though the 9/11 community has zoomed close for years, Republican leaders invoked the Patriot Act to take me down 30 days after I approached the offices of Senator John McCain and Trent Lott requesting to testify about Iraq's cooperation with the 9/11 investigation and a comprehensive peace framework that would have achieved every U.S. and British objective without firing a shot. Ironically, because of the Patriot Act, my conversation with Senator Trent Lott got captured on wiretaps, proving my story. You see, contrary to rhetoric on Capitol Hill, the Patriot Act is first and foremost a weapon to bludgeon whistleblowers and political dissidents. Indeed, it has been singularly crafted for that purpose. Susan Lindauer is writing for Veterans Today, writing for Gordon Duff, one of the few organizations out there that actually is standing up for our veterans, standing up against the ADL and Southern Poverty Law, standing up for the Constitution. And I've been telling you this attack on me, I am what they would call a political dissident. The FBI told one of my guests, why are you going to be on Clay's show? Well, we think he's a subversive. So here you've got somebody right in the mix, somebody that had access to Iraq, somebody was talking to the people that had, somebody who had access to John McCain and Trent Lott, and they put in jail. She said the American people are not nearly as frightened as they should be. Many Americans expect the Patriot Act to limit its surveillance to overseas communications, yet while I was under indictment, Maryland State Police invoked the Patriot Act to wiretap activists tied to the Chesapeake Climate Action Network, an environmental group dedicated to wind power, solar energy, and recycling. The D.C. Anti-War Network was targeted as a white supremacist group. Amnesty International and anti-death activists got targeted for alleged civil rights violations. All of these are American activists engaged in lawful disputes of government policy. All of them got victimized by the surveillance techniques approved by Tea Party leaders because they pursued a policy agenda which contradicted current government policies. All the Tea Party swore to defend the freedom of independent thinking in congressional campaigns. One presumes those promises are now forgotten until the next election. Susan Lindar says, I cannot forget. I cannot forget how I was subjected to secret charges, secret evidence, and a secret grand jury testimony that denied my right to face my accusers or their accusations in open court. Throughout 5 years of indictment, I cannot forget my imprisonment on a Texas military base for a year without a trial or evidentiary hearing. I cannot forget how the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Bureau of Prisons, and the Main Justice Office in Washington independently and collectively verified my story, then falsified testimony to Chief Justice Michael Milosky, denying our 9/11 warnings and my longtime status as a U.S. intelligence asset, though my witnesses had aggressively confronted them. Apparently, the Patriot Act allows the Justice Department to withhold corroborating evidence and testimony from the court if it is deemed classified. Listen carefully to this. I cannot forget threats of forcible drugging and indefinite detention up to 10 years until I could be cured of believing what everybody wanted to deny. Because it was damned inconvenient to politicians in Washington's anxious to hold on to power. Some things are unforgivable in a democracy. The Patriot Act should be right at the top of the list. Nobody who has supported that wretched law should ever be allowed to brag of defending the liberty again that goes for the Tea Party by voting to extend surveillance of American citizens. They have abandoned the principles of freedom that brought about their rise to power. They have shown their true face. It is a face that we, the people, will remember. I, for one, have no intentions of allowing them to forget. Susan is the author of Extreme Prejudice, the terrifying story of the Patriot Act, the cover-ups of 9/11 and Iraq. Okay, let's see what we got here. I'm taking calls today. I'm taking calls today, and if you want to do that, you can call in at 646-915-8774. Hang on, let's
If your body isn't feeling too well these days, you're gonna start taking this hemp. I say go to hempusa.org. You may not like what I'm about to say, but you know I'm gonna say it anyway. The government doesn't want the best for you. They keep you down, they keep you blue, they starve your body for all its nutrients. They won't let you grow industrial hemp. It really doesn't make any kind of sense when it's so healthy for the world and useful for you, my friends. I hope Mr. Bush will hear this song, for the heart of America wants this one. Go to hempusa.org. If you're a truther, an anarchist, a renegade, you only want things that God has made. Go to hempusa.org. We offer free shipping anywhere in the States. Go to hempusa.org.
All right, I bumped the mic. I think this will work a little bit better. I didn't realize I had the mic that far away from my mouth. Thank you for the heads up there. Appreciate that. Does Arizona count as a southern state? Yeah, I guess we could. Although it didn't join. We didn't join until 1914. I think we're Arizona's closer to being an independent state, or as close as Texas. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you giving me a heads up there, Planet Whisperer. We got people up on the blog TV and in the chat room. Yeah, okay, is the mic sounding better there, old fart? I hope so. Yep. Okay. All right, let's continue here. There's a few things I've earmarked. Yeah, how about this one? Ezekiel 37:8. And they shall be desolate in the midst of the countries that are desolate, and her cities shall be in the midst of the cities that are wasted. And they shall know that I am the Lord, when I have set a fire in Egypt, and when all her helpers shall be destroyed. That's kind of interesting. I thought it was worth at least mentioning. And what else? What else have I got here? Now, I've been talking to you about the gold. And I want to bring, let me do this. Let me bring up precious metals markets rising, according to Jerry. And I'm going to bring up Dr. Ayush. Dr. Awad, how are you?
I'm blessed and favored. How about you, Clay? Happy Friday.
Well, thank you. Thank God it's Friday, right?
Always, yes.
I want to share the story with you, and I brought you up so you could comment on it with me. A red alert has been sent out to metals experts analysis regarding the potential of confiscation of gold and silver from the American public this year for a new world currency. And they say there is a plan to use the IMF, also known as the U.S. Treasury and Wall Street, to be the front man for the new world order in one currency. We got disturbing news yesterday from an impeccable source that when gold touches $2,000, it's confiscated in the USA for about $200. Then it's to be reissued by the Treasury for $10,000 per ounce to back the new IMF world currency using SDRS in 2011. Large physical gold is being moved to Canada. And the article in the email said the IMF is calling for a new trading currency in place of the U.S. dollar. The writing's on the wall. Let me. So, have you heard about that? And what's your opinion on that? They've done it before. I mean, they made you turn in your gold. They paid you $16 an ounce for it, and then they turned around and raised it to $32. So the banksters that you turned your gold into doubled their money just like that. Your comments, Doc.
Thank you for that. I did not hear the report, the one I heard about, the one I sent you, which is a quote from Greenspan. The one used to be the Fed chair before this one, the one we have now. They're expecting the gold when it gets to that $6,000
announce, they expect something to happen by the Fed. But everything is possible now. We live in a very interesting time nowadays, so I won't be surprised if something like that happens. That's the reason I tell people